I'd like to call the meeting of the McHenry County Zoning Board of Appeals to order. The reason for our hearing today is to our application 2023-022. The applicant is Surya Powered LLC, and the request is a conditional use permit to allow for a commercial solar energy facility. The property is on PIN number 03-09-400-0119, and the property consists of approximately 10.414 acres and is located at the northwest corner of the intersection of Maple Avenue and Seaman Road in Hebron Township. I'd like to have the board members introduce themselves, starting by my left with your name and the township in which you reside.
Robert Cozen, Algonquin Township.
Donald Smolinski, Grafton Township.
Charlie Eldridge, Richmond Township.
I'm Linnea Kustra, Alden Township.
Vicki Gardner, Nunda Township.
Kurt Schnabel, Riley Township.
Jessica Beverly, Door Township.
This petition has been reviewed and the following items have been received prior to today's scheduled hearing. The publisher's certificate of publication from the newspaper is dated April 28, 2023, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The affidavit of posting was signed and the date posted was May 1, 2023, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The affidavit of mailing was signed and the date mailed was April 25, 2023, and thereby meets ordinance requirements. The survey has been checked against the petition, legal notice and publication in the newspaper, and all three match. The filing fees have been paid. The endangered species consultation has been received, and the McHenry County Soil and Water Conservation District report has been received. At this time, I'd like to swear in anyone. If you're going to make a statement or if you want to ask questions, this would be the petitioner, staff, and any members of the public that might want an opportunity to speak. I'd like you to raise your right hand. Do you solemnly affirm that the testimony you give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do, yes.
Okay, so for members of the public, how this works is the petitioner will give their testimony to us on what this solar plant or this solar farm is going to look like. And then when they finish their testimony, the board members can ask them questions, then staff can ask them questions, and then any member of the public, you're allowed 3 minutes, each person, to ask questions of them, of their testimony. And then after that, then we will hear the staff give their report, and then after everything else is done, then if you would like to give a comment on this, you know, support or against, however you feel, you have that opportunity to do so. If you come to speak, I'd like you to use this mic over here, and you'll have to identify yourself, your name, and your where you reside, your address, in doing so. So at this point, I'll recognize the petitioners, and you can go ahead and give us your testimony.
Pull it towards you.
You pull it up, the little button towards you on the top of the microphone.
Yeah, it looks like it's on.
Did you push it up towards the microphone and nothing's happening?
Maybe just switch with the
Switch
one
with
in
that
the
one?
stand.
Yeah, use that one instead.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
That one works.
That sounds good.
Perfect. Alrighty. Much better. Hi everyone, good afternoon. So we're Surya Powered. Like you guys described, we're going to go through a proposed solar farm. First, we want to give a little bit of background about our company, go through what a community solar project is, and then we can jump into some of the project details. So we're the project developers of this project.
Can't give his name.
Oh, yeah, please give your name.
Yeah, Akshar Patel, one of the project developers here at Surya Powered, focusing on the Hebron project.
Taj Patel, also one of the project developers for the Hebron Solar Farm.
And then we have Mark here as well. So just giving a little bit of a description about our company. So we focus mainly on greenfield to NTP or COD development of these solar farms. So we, start by conducting preliminary analysis and doing feasibility studies of sites. We generally purchase or lease land, anything, over 10 acres and, about 2 to 5 megawatts in size, work with the local utilities and also the counties such as yourselves to get the permitting. And then we partner with an installation company, and then we are the long-term owners and operators of these projects. So we keep them on our balance sheet. Next, so the benefits of community solar. So community solar, the way that I like to think about it, is kind of like a decentralized solar system. So, they're off-site, and they feed electricity directly into the utility grid, and then we can go ahead and use those credits that the utility company gives us and sell them to anybody within the common utility grid for this project in particular. So some of the major benefits, it's, a $0 investment to a homeowner or a business. Putting panels up is quite expensive, so it's a $0 investment to them though. A second benefit is it's a lower energy rate, so basically whatever the current rate is, whatever we're going to be selling it to, we become an alternative energy provider and we charge a lower rate. And then there's no restriction, so if you have a house that's not south-facing or not ideal, covered in trees, you really can't put solar on it, so this is a way to participate in renewable energies without having to put solar panels up on your own roof. And then the benefits to the county, so it's an additional tax revenue to the township, county, school districts, and then it also helps meet the ESG goals for the state, township, and the counties.
So for our Hebron Solar Farm, the proposed size of the project.
Oh, I'm sorry, if you're going to change who's giving testimony, I want you to identify yourself because this is being recorded. We need to know who's actually speaking.
Okay, sorry about that. Taj, Project Development Manager for Surya Power. So project details, the project sizing for the Hebron Solar Plant proposed here today is 1950 kilowatts, changed from the 3200 that was initially submitted with the petition. The tracker type is a fixed tilt system, and we may be potentially using a tracker system. I kind of want to define the difference between these two racking systems. Fixed tilt, it does not track the sun. The tracking system does track the sun. The interconnection utility for this project is Commonwealth Edison, and the annual power yield from the solar plant is 2.8 million kilowatt hours, enough to power approximately 280 homes. So to continuing on the project details of the Hebron Solar Farm, all the setbacks meet the county ordinance. Our vegetation screening outlined in the county ordinance has been met, 500 feet from the residence and right of way. Landscape detail has been provided. Our drain tile impacts, the tile survey will be, drain tile survey will be done prior to construction. We've initiated and signed the AMA agreement with the Department of Agriculture. The stormwater management site plan will comply with stormwater management ordinance. Stormwater management permit will be required and submitted prior to construction. The grading of the project will be minimized as much as possible. Limited access to any roads and minor slopes as well. The tilt of the panels at maximum would be 12 feet, and the post would be 4 feet from the ground, and there's currently no lighting proposed at the facility. So the construction of the project, the facility will approximately employ 15 to 20 employees over 4 to 6 months, equipment operators, electricians, fence installers, laborers, and construction managers. We'll try to employ local workforce when possible. Once construction is complete, there will be 3 to 5 employees for operation and maintenance, upkeep, landscaping, monitoring production, and solar equipment throughout the life of the project. The tax revenue for the Hebron Solar Farm, so the standard assessment value for per megawatt installed in Illinois from the Public Act 100-0781, the project will generate about $394,000 across the 35 years of the project life. The state has said that per megawatt there's a $218,000 assessment value. Currently, without the project, the revenue in a form of tax would be $10,000. With our project, it would be $394,000 across the 35 years. And this slide shows the breakdown of the taxing authorities and the rates of each taxing authority. The environmental reports for the Hebron Solar Farm, we've completed the EcoCat, and it was concluded that the adverse effects are unlikely. Therefore, the consultation has been terminated. An NRI report was completed. The land valuation score for the parcel was an 89.98, which has therefore recommended us a wetland delineation report. Alongside this, areas between the panels and within the buffers, we plan to do a native prairie mix to help increase water infiltration and reduce runoff from the site. Planting and maintenance plan will be developed with the county to ensure that noxious weeds are controlled and native plantings are properly installed and managed. So the compliance standards for conditional use. The question is to be, please describe how the conditional use meets all applicable standards of UDO 16.56 use standards and 16.60 site development standards. So parcel number 03094000019 in Hebron, Illinois is zoned as Industrial 1 and fits the applicable standards of UDO 16.56 and 1660 by the following. To start off, the McHenry County 2030 Comprehensive Plan encourages the exploration efforts of alternative energy sources in the county. Without doing so, the county will not be able to effectively compete in a global economy or offer quality of life to residents that have come to enjoy. A threatened and endangered species consultation from the Illinois Department of Natural Resources was completed prior to the conditional use permit. The project will have little to no glare or noise during operation. The facility will have an 8-foot fence with a locked gate and no public access. Vegetation will also be surrounding the perimeter of the fence as well. The facility will be consistently maintained, including any grass, trees, gravel roads, and overall landscape to keep a pleasing aesthetic for the surrounding properties and to the public. All drainage, flood zones, wetlands, soil type and category, utility studies, and overall engineering has been or will be reviewed prior to development. Also, access to roads will be built for emergency service teams, along with the precautionary measures to mitigate all facility risk. Once constructed, there will be little to no foot traffic to the facility. Surya Powered, which acts as an alternative energy supplier, AES, will give residents of Hebron the opportunity to enroll in the community supply program before releasing the waitlist to all of Common's jurisdiction. The development site does not have any floodplains or wetlands and will comply to the Stormwater Management Ordinance. Alongside this, a natural resource information report will be filed, reviewed, and considered prior to development. Is the conditional use compatible with the existing or planned future development of the area? McHenry County issues conditional use permits for parcels zoned as industrial. Due to this parcel of land being zoned as industrial and its enhanced surrounding electrical infrastructure, we believe that the proposed site acts as a suitable development opportunity for a solar farm. All parcels zoned as industrial can apply for this type of development. Although this may be the case, qualities of the land and the lack of the surrounding utility infrastructure creates hardships for feasible development. As the 2030 McHenry County Development Plan encourages alternative energy sources in the county, facilities like these cannot be regionally planned without extensive studies. After thorough research conducted by the team at Surya Power, we believe that this parcel acts as a feasible development opportunity and should be considered to help accomplish the 2030 development plan. Is the conditional use detrimental to or endanger the public health, safety, morals, comfort, or general welfare of the area? A solar farm that is properly designed and well maintained will have no adverse effects to the public health, safety, morals, or comfort of the general welfare of the community. The proposed facility, in perspective, can power up to 280 homes annually without releasing harmful toxins. The development is in an area with low population density and low foot traffic. The facility will be fenced with a locked gate and additional vegetation surrounding the perimeter. A well-designed and maintained facility that is also protected from unauthorized access establishes safety and security of the general welfare and overall community. Will the conditional use be injurious to the use and enjoyment of the property in the area, of other properties in the area? There are no adverse effects to the surrounding properties expected from a solar farm. Solar energy is a clean and renewable source that is widely recognized as an important contributor to a sustainable energy future, and the public may view it as a positive feature in their community. Will the conditional use substantially diminish and impair property value in the area? It is not expected that this solar farm would substantially diminish or impair property values in the area according to the results of the SEIA. And I quote, examining property value in states across the United States demonstrates that large-scale solar arrays often have no measurable impact on the value of adjacent properties, and in some cases may even have positive effects, and that source has been provided. Are adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities provided? The proposed solar farm will require adequate utilities necessary to supply energy into the local utility grid. To support the construction, maintenance, and logistics of building the facility, access roads will be built to operate the facility safely and efficiently. During the construction phase, measures will be taken to manage stormwater runoff to protect the surrounding environment while also complying to local regulations. All specifications are either provided or will be built to manage the facility. Has conditional use operation been designed to provide ingress and egress to minimize traffic congestion and hazards on the public streets? We have considered the following measures to mitigate potential traffic to the development site. We identified over 500 potential sites and chose this location in Hebron due to the surrounding road network. The proposed site is accessible via Maple Ave, and our presence will not generate any additional traffic that could be congested or have any safety concerns. Once the facility is constructed, operations and management plan consists of a 24/7 remote monitoring with quarterly visits. Therefore, the foot traffic after construction will be zero. During construction, we plan on building a gravel road to assist with the traffic volume and vehicle types entering into the vicinity. We will also engage with the local community and address any concerns they may have as we construct the facility. This includes ample notice prior to construction and any major maintenance activities. Lastly, will the conditional use conform to the applicable standards of the underlying zoning district? Yes, our parcel is zoned as Industrial 1, which according to the zoning district use charts is allowed for a conditional use permit for this project.
Akshay Patel, Surya Powered. So I'm going to go through the site plan now. So before we jump into that, I wanted to go through the bill of materials. So this project, we have just one transformer proposed, 12 inverters, and then it'll be about 3,546 modules, and those are 550 watt bifacial modules. Yes, please. So here's our proposed site plan. So it's on the intersections of Maple and Seaman Road. So you can see that we have our point of interconnection, which is right across Maple Road. So we have our utility poles running on Seaman. So we basically have our underground cables from the transformer pad to the utility poles, and then that's where we're going to be having the poles connecting to the point of interconnection on Maple Road. We have a access road, and on Seaman Road we have our 20-inch double gate access road, and that goes to our transformer pad. We've been working with the fire department to make sure that they're okay with this access. And then we have a fence, which is an 8-foot fence. Right now we have it labeled as a chain wire mesh fence, but we potentially will use a fixed knot farm fence. So one or the other, but it'll be 8 feet. I think that NEC code is 7 feet, so we'll be a little bit above that. We have a vegetation buffer, so we are within 500 feet of a right-of-way, and also there are 2 residents that are on the south side, just on Maple Avenue. So we'll have a vegetation buffer going all the way up Seaman Road, and then also on the west side of the property. There is a historical flood zone, which is on the west side as well, but that's away off parcel. And then this is a fixed tilt. Our panels are 50 feet from the property line. We have a fence that's 30 feet setback from the property line. So it goes property line, vegetation buffer, and then our fence. Yeah, I think that was everything on the site plan.
Taj Patel, Development Manager for Surya Power. This slide is the vegetation and planting plan for the Hebron Solar Farm. It's a visual representation on how we plan on adhering to the 50-foot setbacks. We'll start off with the property line. From the property line to the vegetation buffer is 10 feet. Vegetation buffer to the fence is 20 feet. And then from the fence to where the panels sit, another 20 feet. So that is a 50-foot in total buffer from the property line to where the modules start. Below you'll see a visual representation of the planting type and the plant view, along with the type of plants that are proposed.
Akshay Patel, Development Manager for Surya Power. Next, we have township comments. So we did receive some comments from Hebron, basically expressing some concern over stormwater runoff. And I think we can actually address these concerns with our stormwater management plan once we, actually go and file a permit with the water, water division permit. I think that should address most of their comments. And then development considerations, so, the road on Maple or Seaman, if we're using it, we're gonna have to, do a pre-study to make sure that we have to repair any potential damages during construction of our solar farm. We'll also, in our AMO, we've agreed to repair any drain tiles that are gonna be damaged during construction, and we'll do a drain tile survey prior to construction. Stormwater management plan, we'll do that to mitigate the increase in runoff. We'll also do a full vegetation and management plan to be integrated with the facility's O&M plan, the operations management, to meet the native vegetation and performance standards. We'll do a soil erosion and sediment control plan, and then a wetland delineation report. So I know it's growing season now, so we'll go ahead and do a wetland delineation report, because I think on the NRI they had mentioned that there may potentially be wetland, and then also a drain tile survey prior to construction. Yeah, I think that's the end of our testimony.
Okay, well, thank you for addressing the standards for conditional use as well. You covered the standards for the solar farm as well as the general use, general conditional use standards. So I'll start the questioning with, on my right, with Ms. Beverly.
Great, thank you so much. I noted in your testimony and in the staff report that the Soil and Water Conservation District has recommended a native prairie mix to increase water filtration and reduce runoff, which would also address the township comment concerns. In your testimony, you said that that was the case and that you intended to adhere to our native performance standards. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah.
Okay. I also just wanted to confirm, you are long-term owners and operators. How many solar farms have you put up in Illinois so far?
Yeah, so we're going through our first round right now. We have 2 in McHenry, Kendall County, and Will County.
Okay. You don't have any that are live right now?
Not right now.
Okay. This is your first year applying under the Adjustable Block Program?
Correct, yeah, for sure.
What else was I gonna? Oh, and I noted that you put up an 8-foot fence. Can you offer a little bit more explanation as to why you chose 8 foot instead of 7?
Yeah, so I think that was kind of the standard that we were seeing with other projects too. I know the NEC code was 7, but we thought that 8 would be good. There's no wildlife that we would impact, but we just thought that the 8 foot with fixed knot would be appropriate.
And you testified that there are neighbors across the street. Have you talked to those neighbors prior to this hearing?
No, we have not talked to the neighbors.
Okay, those are all my questions. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Schnabel.
Good afternoon. The only concern that I have at this time with this plan is I'm very concerned about the sight line for drivers that might be headed southbound on Seaman Road and turning right onto Maple, especially with 8-foot landscape and so forth. I'm wondering if either yourselves or I'd like to invite the gentleman from Hebron Township if he has a comment on that.
Not now, he can later.
Later on, okay. But that's my only concern that I have at this particular time. Thank you.
Ms. Gardner.
Thank you. Okay, my one question was about the concerns that Hebron had, and you said you're addressing those. The other thing I'm wondering about is, are you planning on incorporating agrivoltaics in any way to this project?
No, currently no agrivoltaics or pollinator-friendly habitat.
No pollinator-friendly habitat?
Not at this time.
Okay. And how are you able to make your points then for the state?
Yeah, so we're actually equity eligible contractors. So there's a different, I guess, pool of, we don't have point requirements for our projects.
You don't? And why is that?
It's a newer program, our equity eligible contractors, so it's not traditional community solar. Usually everyone I think that you've seen is doing traditional community solar, which has points and a lot of projects being kind of applied for. As an equity eligible contractor, we don't have that requirement right now. I think they will make it in a year or so, but as of right now, there's no requirement.
Okay, so you're sliding under the line there.
Until they change it.
Yeah, okay. All right, there is another question coming. So no agrivoltaics, but no pollinator plants? That may be required by our county, and in which case you would have to comply with that. Would you be willing to do that?
Yeah, we'd be willing to do that. I think we'll check the AMA too. Do you know if the AMA requires us to do?
Tash Patel, Development Manager for Surya Power. As of right now, I'm not quite sure if the AMA says that we would need those, but if it's required by the county, we'll go ahead and do so.
Okay. Now, we also received some updated site plans from you. And I noticed that they showed the, not the fixed tilt panels, but the trackers. So you said you're planning on going with the fixed tilt?
So I think the site plan right now that we're showing, it is fixed tilt. We have the tracker information in there too. We likely will use a tracker. We're just still, kind of internally doing some calculations just based on our system size with both to see which one we want to do. But likely there will be trackers, but right now this, what we have in the site plan is fixed tilt.
Okay. I mean, I would recommend trackers because this is Illinois and there isn't a whole lot of sun here all the time.
Yeah.
So you might want to seek it out. Anyway, thank you.
Mr. Eldridge?
Yeah, looking at the site plan, is the little space in red, are all of the inverters and the transformer on that pad?
That's our transformer pad mount, yeah.
So there's just the one spot that has transformers and inverters, is that correct?
Correct.
And that would be really the only place that any sound at all is generated, isn't that pretty much true?
Correct, yeah.
And I'm curious, why do you have the rather lengthy driveway to your access point on Seaman Road rather than just going straight out to Seaman Road from your inverter pad?
Tash Patel, Development Manager, Surya Power. So this access road is just a proposed access road, and I say that because we are still waiting for the comments from the local fire department to see if this is the type of road or the length of the road that they would like to see in case if there's any emergency situations that arise. The point of this illustration is just to show that we need to have a road going to the equipment pad, and because that's where all of our emergency shutoffs will be. So, yeah.
So at this time, you have not applied for a access permit to Seaman Road yet?
That is correct.
Okay. If it were requested, going back to my colleague's comment about the interconnection of Seaman Road and Illinois Route 173, which is Maple Avenue, if you were requested to sort of give a diagonal with a little bit of a setback that to provide better sight lines along Seaman, along 173, would that be something that you'd be able to accommodate?
What kind of setbacks would you propose or is thinking about?
Well, it's just you have to get all the way up to the corner to see westbound on 173 if you're southbound, and that looks like it may restrict vision somewhat, being that close to the property line. Your vegetation more than your fence.
Yeah, I think we can we can explore that option.
Okay, I think that's all I have at this time.
Mr. Smolinski?
You talked about the modules are fixed tilt. Which way are they facing? Are they facing east or south?
Right now, they're facing south.
They are facing south. Because it looks like to me the...
Yeah, it looks like they're facing east and west, yeah. But I think they should be facing south, if they're fixed tilt. And if they're tracking, then they're gonna be facing this way.
Right, gotcha. Also, Kim, can you bring back up the landscape slide, please? I can't read the legend as to what is there.
Yeah, hold on. Sorry, one
Can you
second.
lift that up a little? There we go.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I don't know much about landscape, those type of shrubs. Could you describe what those are?
So I believe this is just a visual representation on how we propose to plant different types of shrubs. At this time, I can't really give an accurate description of what those shrubs are and how they really look like, but we could definitely provide that information.
Yeah, I
to you
guess
guys.
the question really is, are they firs, are they deciduous, are they leaf-bearing, do they lose their leaves, or are they like yews and things like that that are permanent and don't lose their leaves? That's what I was asking.
I don't want to give the wrong answer here, but I might.
I can help you out.
Yeah.
They're deciduous shrubs. None of them get above 20 feet tall. They lose their leaves in the winter. They're typically hedgerow shrubs, and they're not exactly see-through once established, right? They're not going to be like a open habitat, but they're deciduous shrubs.
So that to me means, as she described, they lose their leaves, so then it really doesn't become a screen then during the non-summer months. Is that true?
If that is the case, that could be true, yes.
Okay.
We can also adjust the vegetation buffer based on whatever the county has seen or thinks is best.
Yeah, I would just think that you would want to have some kind of screening that would last the entire season instead of just during the summertime.
Sure.
That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
Mr. Cozen?
Thank you. Have you settled on what is the output for this facility? The staff report references a 3.2. You're now saying it's a 1.9. Which value have you settled on?
Yes, it's a 1.95 megawatt.
And that the panels still, though you have settled on your output, you're still choosing whether or not you're fixed tilt or tracker. Is that
Correct, yeah. So with fixed tilt, it's this. With the tracker, it'll be 1.7. So a little bit of a dip, but nothing too substantial.
but under 2 megawatts?
Under 2 megawatts, always under 2 megawatts, yep.
In terms of the drainage issue, is the water running off a panel, whether fixed tilt or tracker, is there any gutter feature or lip feature on the panels that would direct the sheet flow from the panel to a particular point?
It's a good question. I'm not sure if they have that, but we can check to see if there's a racking that allows that or has that feature.
It's not a goal that I'm intimating. I'm just trying to address the issue of no contact or no point of concentration coming off the panel. And so that's why we don't have a profile or cut sheet for the panel to see that for ourselves.
Sure, yeah, and if you guys need the data sheet, we can also provide that, yeah.
Well, it's only because there's multiple references that the solar panels themselves are not considered impervious. So essentially, it looks like you're just putting out about 5,000 umbrellas over a grass field. That's just the point. Along that same line, it appears that the only impervious area, notwithstanding the cumulative values of the post and the gravel nature of the driveway, that the equipment pad is only 308 square feet? Am I reading the...
Yep, 308 square feet.
So we're putting in an impervious surface area, just to, my math is running out, of 308 square feet on a 10-acre site, which then the math comes out to 2.1 million square feet of grassed area?
Yeah, if you take out the access road and the fence posts.
Right. I noticed in the change of your design, you had a service road running parallel to Maple, Seaman Road, but an original design had it further to the west, running the common property line. I was wondering what caused that particular change.
Yeah, so because we downsized the system, we actually didn't need to have a second transformer pad. So that's why we had moved the location to optimize the site and the access road.
And is the selection of this particular property brought about by, or let me put it another way, what brought you to this particular property? And if it's a real estate, I understand, but if there's some other feature, could you?
Yeah, so it's mainly we're looking at wetlands, flood zones, so no wetlands or flood zones, flat land, so this had that really good characteristic, open 10-acre field, which was really great, and then the biggest thing is the electrical infrastructure. So there's our point of interconnection right on Maple, so we don't have to run any of our three-phase wires, 1,000, 2,000 feet. So that was really what drew us to this, and then just availability of land. Hebron Township seems to have a lot of land around it.
So following the service connection from yours to ComEd, the pole would be in the northwest corner of Maple and Siemens. Am I reading that correctly?
It is,
In the most recent design?
yeah, so if we still have it up, it's pole number E822, and just a little further down.
Right.
Yeah, just across Maple.
So a cataclysmic failure for the operation segregated from the network would occur if that pole was taken out of service?
That is our point of interconnection. So yeah, that's our tie to the ComEd utility grid.
Right. So consideration for armoring the connection to the local grid is another consideration to be given, whether it's further north on Siemens or back to the original design west of Siemens, given the conversation concerning traffic and visibility. Wouldn't you agree?
Correct, but that would still be our point of interconnection,
Right.
even if we had to, shift our panels back a bit or vegetation buffers. But I think that would still be at least our proposed point of interconnection.
Excuse me, back to the panels, is there a comment or a design feature concerning either glare or bifacial?
Yeah, so these panels, they're Trina Solar 550s, and they have anti-glare coating. And then these are also bifacial, so solar cells on both sides to pick up the albedo.
Will you be leasing or owning the property?
We're actually purchasing the property, so we're in a purchase contract with the owner right now.
Welcome to McHenry County.
Thank you.
And speaking of which, then, on the property tax, do you have a record of what the current property tax is paid for the property in total?
Yeah.
In most recent property bill?
Yeah, so I think it was somewhere around $300 to $500. So that we just did, kind of an extrapolation for the 35 years, and that's around $10,000 was the current value or current property tax.
So after you would put your improvement, then the bill would be using the values that you came in, would come out to what
Yeah, so yearly, annual revenue would be 11,200, and then over the 35 years, that's 394,000.
So the tax bill would go from 305 to 11,000, thereabouts?
Correct, yeah.
I have no further questions.
Okay, I just have a few questions. You talked about doing a wetland delineation, and I just wanted to, I don't know if you received I'm sure you did, the comments from the Water Resources Division, and I just want you to know that a McHenry County Certified Wetland Specialist is required to complete your wetland determination report, so I don't want you to have to do it twice, so make sure you check that out. And then also, they talked about that you need to follow the county's requirement for native landscaping as stated in the county's native vegetation performance standards for solar farms document. So you're willing to follow all that? I mean, that'll be part of the process in order to get your building permit and that sort of
Correct,
thing,
yeah.
but you're willing to do that?
Yeah, willing to follow that.
And I think maybe it was a misunderstanding, but Ms. Beverly in her first questions to you was asking about native prairie mix for the, and you said yes, for sure, that you'd be willing to do that, and that is part of our ordinance, so you will follow the prairie mix that we have for McHenry County, our recommended mix.
Yes, yeah, we can take a look at it and follow the ordinance, yeah.
Okay. Those are all the questions I have. Staff have any questions?
More just out of curiosity why you reduced the size and how, was that just by eliminating panels or just by eliminating or you eliminated the inverter, the second inverter, because you reduced some panels? Is that correct?
Yeah, correct. So I guess the rationale behind that was to have more inter-row spacings, and then also the way the adjustable block program is set up, there's different, I guess, brackets. So like you get a certain amount of rec value for 500 to 2,000 kW, which will be what this falls in, versus 2,000 to 5,000. And we were kind of on the border, and we did a financial analysis and figured it'd be better for us to reduce the size.
So the overall footprint of property that's taken up by the array though is the same? There's just more spacing between them?
Correct, yeah, and more inter-row spacings, which will also adhere to, if we need to do a tracker, it'll help with that as well.
Okay, that's all I have.
Okay, any members of the public have questions for the petitioner based on their testimony? Okay, and then, that mic is not working, so. Oh, it is working now? Okay. I guess he replaced it with a working mic.
Hi, my name is Larry Mailing. I and my brother own the 47.5 acres immediately north of this development. And I'm trying to absorb all of this because this is what I get. It's a one-page letter, and I have to go online and look just like anybody else, Google it, well, what will happen if a solar farm gets put next to your property and so forth. So my initial reaction is, I guess this is one of my, not in my backyard kind of opinions.
Well, you can ask a question right now. You can give an opinion later, but now it's
Okay,
questions.
just questions. So the question is, online I found out that there is an electromagnetic field that is given off by solar farms, and they're suggesting people really shouldn't be living within 1.2 miles of that solar farm. And I guess as a question, I have you address that at this point.
Yeah, so I think I do know what this study you're referring to. I think there are also multiple studies that are kind of opposing to that. Yeah.
They were equal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think.
Opinions or questions, or?
Just questions. You'll have your opportunity later to give your opinion.
Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else with questions? Okay.
Will you guys be, I'm
Are
sorry,
you,
I'm Tara.
your name and address?
I'm Tara Nielsen, and I'm one of the,
And your address?
I don't have to state my address, but I can tell you I live in Hebron Township.
Oh, don't we ask that they give their address?
I believe so, but I don't know if it's just.
Yeah, it's
So
your address.
according to the Open Meetings Act, is that what you're referring to?
No.
The zoning board of appeals.
Our
It's the
zoning
rules
board.
of the zoning board of
They're
appeals.
giving an oath.
You're under oath.
But I can, for safety reasons, I don't want to give my address, but I can tell you I am a member of Hebron Township.
Our rules are you have to see your address. Anybody else want to ask a question? Go ahead.
Zeke Nichols, 9719 Kem Road in Hebron. I'm the highway commissioner. I just have a couple of questions why you choose to put your inverters and your equipment in the lowest part of the area. That part floods out all the time. And then you have a 20-foot driveway access, and the county's minimum is 26 feet, and the township minimum is 30 feet. So nobody's caught that yet, and those are just my questions for now. I have comments later.
So for the transformer pad, we can adjust it. I think we still, based on the wetland delineation and when we actually look at the topo, we do our pull test, we'll be able to adjust that if needed. Because I know Township did provide some comments that there may be some flooding. And then I think right now we have a 24 feet wide site access gravel road, but you said 30 feet?
30 is our minimum.
And then, okay.
Any other question? That's it. Kim, can you address the driveway?
Yeah, am I allowed to ask him a question?
Sure.
Is the 30 feet just for like the area in the right of way for the entrance, for the flared end? Okay, so the driveway itself from the point that it comes into the property only needs to be a minimum of 20 feet. So it sounds like to appease the township, it would need to be 30 in the right of way, and then it can narrow into 20 once, or 24 if that's what your design is.
Okay, yeah, we can do that.
Okay, any other questions, follow-up questions?
I have one follow-up question. Just going back to the testimony about adhering to our native planting performance standards, just, you mentioned that you were not applying for the pollinator habitat, but if you are adhering to our native standards, you qualify for the pollinator habitat. So just so that when you apply for your building permit, you actually will go through that with our staff and do that, and you're willing to make that a condition of the conditional use permit?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's just part of it, Kim, isn't it? That they would have to go through whatever we require as part of, during
That
the,
would be required.
yeah, that's required, yeah.
Yes.
So it's automatically a condition,
Yes.
yes.
Okay.
Okay, so at this time, we'll take testimony from the public, starting with the staff, summary of the staff report.
So most of the solar farms that are proposed, we've been seeing on agricultural land. This property is zoned I-1 industrial. It is mostly surrounded by agricultural zoning in the county, but it is adjacent to the municipal boundaries of Hebron, which does have an industrial use. Actually, I don't have their zoning, but I'll switch to the land use here. They do have some commercial and industrial uses just to the west of the property there. So this would fit in with the state's requirement that these be sited on agricultural or industrial zoned and used properties. Future land use does call for office research and industrial at this property as well. And I just had a couple of photos here just to show the different views of the site there, so you can see there is a little bit of a lower area from where the first photo was taken, more towards, I believe that's around where the entrance to the site would be. And as we had mentioned, the stormwater management requirements would need to be met during permitting, so all of that will be addressed. And if minor changes need to be made to the site plan, such as driveway location or inverter location, any of that can be addressed during the permitting phase. This does comply with all of the state's minimum standards for setback regulations, height restrictions, and everything that the Unified Development Ordinance has been modified to comply with the state, so we have no objections.
So the issues that Hebron Township is raising regarding flooding, that's a normal part of the stormwater management plan that we would be addressing as part of
That
this
would all be
permitting.
reviewed and addressed during the permitting phase.
Okay. Anyone else have any questions of staff on the report? Yes, Mr. Cozen, go ahead.
Was there any comment received from Hebron proper, the city of?
No.
Also, in the staff report, there's a length of time of which a solar facility should have an approximate length of time of 40 years. And discussions have been anywhere from 20, 30 design life. What is the, or is that a number to be looked at or established?
And we've seen people propose anywhere, typically 30 to 40 years. I'm not sure if you have a specific amount of time that you had thought for this project.
Yeah, we were thinking 35 years.
Okay. So that's pretty in line with what we have seen on these projects.
And then when the landscaping requirement has predominantly been applied to adjoining residential or residential use, but the use to the west is industrial. Is there still that requirement?
No, not on the west. The reason that they have the proposed vegetative buffer along that west property line there is for it being within 500 feet of the right-of-way. So it only has to go back 500 feet from Maple Avenue.
Perfect, as always, thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Now we can take comments from members of the public. If you would like to make a comment on this. I do want to say before we take your comments, I just want to inform you, and staff does a better job of it, but the state passed a bill in January that makes it so that the state set the standards, the minimum standards for siting of a solar farm. And if petitioner meets those basic siting standards, no county can then decide they don't want that solar farm. That we had to revise our ordinance so so we would comply with what the state has for siting a solar farm. And so, our hands are kind of tied. We don't have the ability that we had before this Illinois state statute was passed in January. So I would go ahead if anyone would like to make a comment to come up to the microphone. And again, identify yourself with your name and your address, and then you have 3 minutes for comments. Anyone want to make a comment? Okay. Any closing comments by the petitioner?
No closing comments. Thank you guys for your time.
Okay. We have 7 members here. We could take a vote at the close of the hearing. Okay. I will close the hearing portion of the meeting and we'll open the voting portion of the hearing. Again, this is for application number 2023-022. The applicant is Surya Powered LLC. The request is a conditional use permit to allow for a commercial solar energy facility. It's part of PIN number 0309400019, and the property consists of approximately 10.414 acres and is located on the northwest corner of the intersection of Maple Avenue and Seaman Road in Hebron Township, Illinois. We have some proposed conditions that staff has provided. They're up on the screen as well as in our staff report. Number 1, the conditional use shall have no time limit unless the use is abandoned as specified in 16.56.030.pp.4 of the McHenry County Unified Development Ordinance. Number 2, site development shall be in substantial conformance with the site plan submitted by the Department of Planning and Development by Surya Powered on May 16, 2023. Number 3, the decommissioning plan shall be applicable in part as well as whole. If any portion of the commercial solar energy facility ceases to perform its intended function for more than 12 consecutive months, that portion of the facility shall be decommissioned in compliance with all the terms of the decommissioning plan. Number 4, a McHenry County stormwater management permit shall be secured prior to construction. Any damaged drainage tiles shall be repaired at the expense of the petitioner and in a manner satisfactory to the Water Resources Division Manager. Number 5, a detailed landscape plan illustrating compliance with required landscape screening standards shall be approved by the zoning enforcement officer prior to issuance of construction/building permit. Number 6, fencing shall be provided in compliance with the National Electrical Code as applicable. The use of barbed wire is prohibited. Setting fence posts in concrete is prohibited except for gate posts and where otherwise required for stability. Number 7, prior to construction, the operator shall enter into an agricultural impact mitigation agreement with the Illinois Department of Agriculture, IDOA, as required by the Renewable Energy Facilities Agricultural Impact Mitigation Act, 505 ILCS 147. Number 8, all requirements of McHenry County Unified Development Ordinance 16.56.030.pp as amended, subject to State of Illinois Public Act 102-1123, shall be met or exceeded unless specifically amended by this conditional use permit. Number 9, all other federal, state, and local laws shall be met. Are there any other proposed conditions? At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the conditions.
Approving the conditions.
It's been moved by Mr. Eldridge,
I'll second.
seconded by Ms. Gardner, to approve the conditions. Any discussion? Okay, I'll call for the vote. Mr. Eldridge?
Yes.
Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cozen?
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel?
Yes.
Mr. Smolinski?
Yes.
Ms. Beverly?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. So the conditions are approved. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the petition.
I move acceptance of the petition subject to the conditions.
I'll second.
Moved by Mr. Eldridge, seconded by Ms. Gardner. Discussion, Mr. Eldridge.
Yes, this is a parcel immediately adjacent to the incorporated limits of the village of Hebron. It is at a junction of a local arterial, Seaman Road, and a state road, Illinois 173, which is Maple Avenue in the village of Hebron. It is presently, while zoned industrial, has been owned by the adjacent factory for many years. It has been used for agricultural purposes until the present time. This is, the proposed use is a community solar farm. The county has supported the development of solar farms on appropriate land, and this would seem to be appropriate land. They have met all of the state standards, and under the presently enforceable state statute, we are obligated to approve proposals that meet the state standards, and for those reasons, I support the petition.
Mr. Cozen.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I'd like to use my moment of time to compliment staff and echo the remarks that you had made. Specifically, these changes were fostered on McHenry County as recently as January of 2023. And in that 4-month period, the staff of this county of some 310,000 people was able, through due process, provide comparable regulations, put forward standards, and we see an application today in a 4-month period that complies with those requirements. And so whoever is listening on the end of the mic, know that there was a job well done. Concurrently, I also want to note that this is not a simple change, something as just changing the color of paper or the color of the pen, but rather is a substantial change, especially when a change occurs that is preemptive of local authority. Likewise, I would like to say that I appreciate a person who's coming in and truly putting, to use a sports metaphor, skin in the game, and becoming a property owner of McHenry County. For all those and others so stated, I too support this petition. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Smolinski.
Yes, I'd like to compliment the petitioner for coming in well-prepared with their presentation and the responses to our questions. I agree with Mr. Eldridge's reasoning with regard to this petition, and I will support it.
Ms. Gardner.
There's a couple things I like about this particular petition, and one of them is that it is an industrial zoned property. That's, I think, the first one we've ever seen that wasn't on agriculture. Even though this was used as agriculture, I think the zoning is proper for this. Also, I'm very happy that there are no agrivoltaics taking place on this site. We've grappled with that over the last few that we've had, and it's, there's, pros and cons, but this is simplified, so I thank you for that. And overall, I think this is probably a very good site for this type of facility, and I'm in favor.
Mr. Schnabel?
Of course, I agree with what's been said, but in addition, would just like to compliment the petitioners on their crisp, concise, and seemingly covering all the bases presentation. I think it's probably one of the cleanest ones I've seen regarding solar farms to date, and I just want to, again, compliment you on that and express my support for the petition.
Ms. Beverly?
Yes, thank you. I second everything that everyone else has already said. It cannot be overstated how unusual it is for a solar farm to actually purchase the land that they intend to own and operate their farm on. And their willingness to comply with our native pollinator standards is wonderful. I also wanted to compliment your intention to try to register Hebron residents first. That is no small undertaking for community solar, and it shows that you have real skin in this game and that you're really interested in moving this forward. So I am very much in support of this petition. Thank you.
And I agree with my colleagues, and I believe the petitioner has addressed the standards in our zoning ordinance for the principal use standards for a solar farm, as well as the approval standards for a conditional use permit, and I'm in favor of the request. So I will call for the vote. Mr. Eldridge?
Yes.
Ms. Gardner?
Yes.
Mr. Cozen?
Yes.
Mr. Schnabel?
Yes.
Mr. Smolinski?
Yes.
Ms. Beverly?
Yes.
And I will vote yes, so this will go to the county board 7-0 approving. At this time, the hearing is closed.
We wish you luck.
Thank you.
See you next week.